I'm 81 years old. And if someone had told me at 26 what I'm about to tell you, I would have laughed in their face. I would have said they didn't understand how the world works, that they were naive, that success requires sacrifice. And that's exactly why I wasted 55 years of my life. You see, I'm not here to tell you some feel-good story about how everything worked out in the end. I'm here to tell you the truth that nobody, not your parents, not your boss, not the success stories you read about, will ever tell you. Because it's too painful, too stark, too real. I built everything I was supposed to build. I achieved everything I was supposed to achieve. And now, sitting here at 81, I can tell you with absolute certainty, I got it completely wrong. But here's what keeps me up at night. It's not just my story. Scientists have been tracking people like me for over 85 years. They've watched us live, work, sacrifice, and die. And what they discovered changes everything we think we know about success. If you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s, you still have time to avoid the mistake I made. But you have to listen, really listen, because what I'm about to share with you could save you from the kind of regret that eats at you every single day for the rest of your life. My name is Richard. I grew up in Detroit in 1957, the son of a factory worker who never made more than $8,000 a year. We weren't poor, but we were never comfortable. I watched my father come home exhausted every single night, his hands stained with grease, his back bent from years of manual labor. And I made a promise to myself. I would never struggle like that. I would never worry about money. I would build a life where my family was secure, where we had everything we needed and more. So I did what everyone said you were supposed to do. I studied hard, got into a good college on a partial scholarship, majored in business, graduated in 1970, and walked straight into a job at a manufacturing firm. Started at $12,000 a year, thought I'd hit the jackpot. I met my wife Patricia in 1972. She was a teacher, warm, patient, always smiling. She used to say I was too serious, that I needed to relax and enjoy life more. I'd tell her I was working hard for us, for our future. She'd just shake her head and smile that smile of hers. We got married in 1973, had our first child, Michael, in 1975. Our daughter, Sarah, came along in 1978, and I remember holding them as babies, looking down at their tiny faces, and feeling this overwhelming sense of responsibility. I had to provide for them. I had to give them everything I didn't have. So I worked. God, did I work. I took every overtime shift offered, volunteered for every project, stayed late, came in early, worked weekends when needed, and it paid off. Promotions came, salary increases. We moved to a bigger house, bought nicer cars. The kids went to good schools. I thought I was winning. I thought I was being a good husband, a good father, a good provider. I thought wrong. The first crack appeared in 1995. I was 54 years old, 22 years into my career. I'd just been promoted to senior vice president. It was everything I'd worked for: corner office, six-figure salary, respect from my peers. Michael was 20, finishing college. Sarah was 17, her senior year of high school. And one Saturday morning, Sarah came to me and asked if I'd take her to look at colleges. Just the two of us, a father-daughter trip. I said yes, told her we'd plan it for next month. Then the next month came, and there was a crucial meeting. We rescheduled for the following month. Then there was a conference I had to attend. Then a crisis at work. We never took that trip. Sarah went to college. And you know what I remember about her senior year? Almost nothing. I can't tell you what her concerns were, who her friends were, what she was excited about. I was too busy, too important, too successful. But the real break came on a Tuesday, March 17th, 1998. I was 57. I was in my office on a conference call discussing quarterly projections when my secretary knocked. I waved her off, annoyed at the interruption. She knocked again, more insistent. I covered the phone and snapped at her. "Richard," she said quietly, "it's your wife. She's in the hospital." Patricia had collapsed at school. The doctors said it was stress-induced exhaustion, anxiety manifesting physically. She was only 54, and lying in that hospital bed, she looked so small, so tired. I sat next to her, and she opened her eyes and looked at me and said, "Richard, when did we stop being us?" I didn't understand. We were fine, weren't we? We had everything, the house, the cars, the security. Our kids were in good schools. We were successful. "We have dinner together once a week if I'm lucky," she said. "You come home after the kids are asleep. You work weekends. When's the last time we just talked? When's the last time you asked me how I was really doing?" I started to defend myself, started to explain all the reasons I was working so hard for her, for the kids, for our future. She just closed her eyes. "I know," she whispered. "I know you think that, but Richard, I don't need a bigger house. I need you." She recovered, came home 2 weeks later, and I promised I'd change. I really meant it. For about 3 months, I left work earlier. We had dinner together. I thought I'd fixed it. But then there was a promotion opportunity. Director level. It would mean more travel, more hours, but also more money, more prestige. I told myself it would be worth it. Just this one more step, then I'd slow down. Patricia didn't say anything when I told her I was taking it. She just nodded, and something in her eyes went dim. Here's what I didn't understand then. Here's what took me 20 more years to finally grasp. I thought that hospital visit was my wake-up call. I thought I'd learned my lesson. I spent more time at home for a few months, felt proud of myself for being a better husband. But then life happens, doesn't it? Work pulls you back in. The next crisis, the next opportunity, the next goal. And slowly, gradually, so slowly, you don't even notice, you slip right back into the same patterns. I kept telling myself I was doing better. I made it to Sarah's college graduation. I was there for Michael's wedding. Well, for the ceremony at least. I had to leave early for a flight to a conference. I thought showing up was enough. I thought being present physically meant I was fulfilling my role as a father, as a husband. But presence isn't the same as attention. Being there isn't the same as being engaged. The years blurred together. 1998 became 2000, became 2005. I hit every career milestone I'd set for myself. Director, vice president, executive vice president. My salary broke $200,000, then $300,000. We moved to an even bigger house, joined a country club, and Patricia and I became strangers who happened to share an address. We were polite to each other, considerate even. We discussed logistics, schedules, finances. But we hadn't had a real conversation, the kind we used to have when we were young, in years. I told myself this was normal. This is what long marriages look like. The passion fades. You settle into routine. You become comfortable. But comfortable was just another word for complacent, another word for absent. I retired in 2010. I was 69 years old, 40 years of corporate work, a healthy retirement account, a pension. The house was paid off. We were, by every measurable standard, successful, and I had absolutely no idea what to do with myself. I thought retirement would be this golden period. Patricia and I would finally have time together. We'd travel, do all the things we'd put off. But when I suggested trips, she was lukewarm. When I tried to plan activities, she seemed disinterested. I didn't understand. Hadn't I worked all these years for this? For the freedom to enjoy life together? One afternoon, about a year into retirement, I was looking for some old tax documents in Patricia's desk drawer, and I found a journal. Dark blue leather, worn at the edges. I knew I shouldn't read it, but something made me open it. The first entry was from 1982. We'd been married 9 years. Richard worked late again tonight, third time this week. Michael asked where Daddy was. I told him Daddy's working hard for us. But I see how Michael's face falls when Richard's not there for dinner. I see it, and it breaks my heart. My hand started shaking. 1987. I asked Richard if we could take a weekend trip, just the two of us. He said maybe next month. It's been next month for 3 years now. 1993. Sarah's school play tonight. She had the lead role. She was so excited. Richard missed it. Conference call with Tokyo. He doesn't even know what he missed. How proud she was. How her face lit up when she sang. He'll never get that moment back. 1998. I collapsed today. The doctor says it's stress, but it's more than that. It's loneliness. It's living with someone who's never really here. Richard visited me in the hospital. He looked so concerned. He promised to change. I wanted to believe him. I don't think I do. 2003. I've stopped asking Richard to do things with me. It's easier this way, less disappointing. I have my book club, my friends, my students. I've built a life that doesn't require him to participate. Is this what marriage is supposed to be? 2008. Michael called today. He's worried about his marriage. He says he's always working, that his wife is unhappy. I heard his voice, and I heard Richard 30 years ago. The same justifications, the same promises. I wanted to tell him to stop, to go home, to be there before it's too late. But who am I to give advice? I stayed. I adapted. I learned to live with loneliness. I sat in that chair, reading entry after entry, years of pain, years of loneliness, years of small moments that hurt her, times I was physically present but emotionally absent, times she tried to reach me and I was too distracted to notice. She wrote about love too, about the man she married, about hoping that version of me would come back, about not knowing how to reach me anymore. I was right there. We slept in the same bed every night, but I might as well have been on another planet. And here's the part that kills me. It wasn't malicious. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just got lazy. I thought showing up was enough. I thought providing was enough. I thought not doing anything wrong was the same as doing things right. But relationships don't die from dramatic failures. They die from 1,000 small neglects. After I found that journal, I couldn't stop thinking about it, about all those years, all those choices. And I started wondering, was I the only one? Was I just uniquely bad at this? Or was this a pattern? So I started reading, research, studies, and what I found shook me to my core. There's a study at Harvard, started in 1938. They recruited 724 Young men, some from Harvard, some from Boston's poorest neighborhoods. And they didn't just survey them once, they followed them their entire lives. Physical exams every few years, psychological evaluations, brain scans as they aged, interviews with their families. For 85 years and counting, researchers have compiled an unprecedented database of what actually makes a human life fulfilling. The study's current director, a psychiatrist named Robert Waldinger, he gave a talk about the findings, and he said something that stopped me cold. The clearest message we get from this 75-year study is this: good relationships keep us happier and healthier. Period. Not money, not achievement, not status or success, relationships. The men in the study who were happiest in their 80s weren't the ones who'd made the most money. They weren't the ones with the most prestigious careers. They were the ones who'd invested in relationships, who'd stayed close to family and friends, who'd chosen connection over achievement when it mattered, and those who'd spent decades climbing the corporate ladder at the expense of relationships. By 80, they weren't just unhappy, they were less healthy, more likely to suffer cognitive decline. Their bodies deteriorated faster. But it's not just Harvard. A researcher at Cornell, Carl Pillemer, interviewed over 1,500 elderly Americans. Different backgrounds, different cities, different lives. Asked them what advice they'd give to younger generations. The response was nearly unanimous. Choose relationships over salary. Don't wait to be happy. Work matters less than you think. And then there are the hospice nurses, the palliative care workers who sit with dying patients in their final days. A woman named Bronnie Ware spent over a decade caring for people in their last weeks of life. And she noticed something. Over and over, her patients said the same things. So she started documenting it. The number 2 most common regret: I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Not, I wish I'd made more money. Not, I wish I'd gotten that promotion. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Particularly from men, Ware noted. They'd missed their children's youth, missed their partner's companionship, all those late nights at the office. In the end, they meant nothing. And here's what broke me. Almost nobody said they wished they'd spent less time with family or regretted choosing the lower-paying job that gave them more time with their kids. I read these studies and I realized something terrifying. I'm not unique. I'm not even unusual. I'm a statistic. I'm exactly what the research predicted. A man who chased achievement, who thought money meant security, who sacrificed relationships for career, who ended up in his 80s looking back with profound regret. The science has been clear for decades. They've known this. They've documented it. They've published it. And I never listened. None of us did. You want to know what I actually regret? Let me be specific. I don't regret working hard. I don't regret wanting to provide for my family. Those impulses came from love, from wanting to protect the people I cared about. What I regret are the thousands of small moments I sacrificed for things that didn't matter. I regret every night I came home after the kids were asleep. Michael was 7 when he stopped waiting up for me. He used to sit by the window in his pajamas watching for my car. And one day, he just stopped. Started going to bed at his normal time. I thought it was good that he was growing up. I didn't realize he'd given up on me. I regret the camping trip I canceled in 1983. Michael was 8, Sarah was 5. They'd been excited for weeks. I'd promised them. But then there was a crisis at work, and I had to go in on Saturday. Patricia took them alone. I have one photo from that trip. Sarah and Michael next to a tent, both holding up fish they'd caught, both of them smiling, but you can see it in their eyes, even at that age. The disappointment that Dad wasn't there. I regret that I can't tell you the name of Sarah's high school best friend, can't tell you what she was interested in during those crucial teenage years, can't tell you what worried her, what excited her, what made her laugh. I lived in the same house as her, and I was essentially a stranger. I regret the anniversary I forgot in 1996, our 23rd. Patricia had made dinner, gotten dressed up, clearly planned something special. I came home at 9:30 p.m. The food was cold. She'd changed back into regular clothes. She said it was fine, that she understood. But that was the night she stopped trying. I regret that I never learned to just sit with Patricia, just be with her, without the TV on, without the newspaper, without thinking about work. We'd be in the same room, and I was somewhere else entirely. I regret the day Michael called me at work in 2002, voice shaking, to tell me his wife had just had a miscarriage. And I said, "I'm so sorry, son. I'm in a meeting. Can I call you back in an hour?" I did call him back. 3 hours later, he said he was fine. We never talked about it again. And I know he needed me in that moment, and I chose a meeting. I regret that when Patricia's mother died in 2005, I left the funeral early because I had a flight to catch for a conference. Her mother, and I couldn't skip one conference. You know what I don't regret? I don't regret the promotion I didn't get in 1989. Can't even remember what it was for. I don't regret the raise that was smaller than I wanted in 1993. I don't regret the business deal that fell through in 1997. Those things meant everything to me then. They mean nothing now. The Cornell study found something remarkable. They asked elderly people, if you could live life over, what would you do differently? The overwhelming response was, I'd spend more time with people I love. Not, I'd take more risks in the stock market. Not, I'd work harder to make vice president. More time with people they love. And the devastating part? These regrets are preventable. We know exactly what goes wrong. We can pinpoint the moments we choose wrong, but we can't go back. Here's what took me 55 years to learn, what the Harvard study spent 85 years documenting, what dying patients tell their nurses over and over again. The biggest threat to your life isn't dramatic failure, it's comfortable success. It's the slow drift into a life where you're achieving all your goals but missing all your moments, where you're building a career but losing your family, where you're securing your future but sacrificing your present. Because here's what nobody tells you when you're young. The goalposts keep moving. You think, I'll work hard until I make $50,000, then I'll relax. You make $50,000 and suddenly you need $75,000, then $100,000, then $200,000. There's always another promotion, another milestone, another goal, and before you know it, you're 70 years old wondering where your life went. I spent 40 years believing a lie. The lie that success means career achievement, that providing means being absent. That love is something you feel, not something you do every day in small, consistent ways. The Harvard study showed it clearly. It's not the men who made the most money who were happiest at 80. It's the men who invested in relationships. The quality of your relationships at 50 predicts your health and happiness at 80. Not your income, not your job title, your relationships. And here's the cruel joke. You actually do have time right now. You just don't value it correctly. You trade it for things that won't matter in 5 years. You spend it on people who drain you. You waste it worrying about things that, from the perspective of 80 years old, are completely meaningless. Because at 80, you won't remember the late nights at the office. You won't care about the promotion you got at 35. You won't think about your year-end bonus from 1993. What you'll remember, what will determine whether you feel your life was wasted or well-lived, is who was there, who you who loved you back, the moments you paid attention to, the times you chose presence over productivity. So let me ask you some questions, and I want you to answer them honestly. When's the last time you had a real conversation with someone you love? Not about logistics or schedules or what's for dinner. A real conversation about dreams, fears, what matters to them. When's the last time you put your phone down and gave someone your full, undivided attention? Not half listening while scrolling. Actually there. When's the last time you said yes to something just because it would make someone you love happy? Not because it was their birthday or an obligation, just because. If your parent called you right now and asked you to visit this weekend, would you say yes? Or would you have a reason why not? Work, plans, tired, busy, next month. If your partner asked you to take a walk right now, no destination, just to be together, would you go? Or would you say you're too busy? If your child, if you have one, asked you to play with them, would you get down on the floor and actually engage? Or would you half participate while thinking about your email? Because here's what I learned too late. Later never comes. Your parents won't always answer the phone. Your partner won't always ask you to walk with them. Your kids won't always want your attention. One day, the people you love will be gone, and you won't remember what you were so busy with. You won't care about the work emergency that seemed so important. You'll just wish you had one more conversation, one more walk, one more ordinary Tuesday afternoon together. I'm 81 years old. If I'm lucky, maybe 5 more years, probably less. And I'm telling you this because you still have time. Not unlimited time, but time. So here's what I would tell my 26-year-old self if I could go back. Stop trying to impress people who don't matter. Your kids don't care about your job title. Your spouse doesn't care about your salary. They just want you. Stop sacrificing today for someday. Someday you'll have more time. Someday you'll be less busy. Someday you'll finally live the life you want. Someday never comes. Stop waiting for permission to prioritize the people you love. You don't need to earn the right to be present. You don't need to achieve some milestone before you're allowed to care. Start saying no to things that drain you. Every yes to something is a no to something else. When you say yes to that extra project, you're saying no to dinner with your family. Choose carefully. Start asking the people you love how they really are, and then actually listen to the answer. Put your phone down. Look at them. Be there. Start doing small things consistently. It's not about grand gestures. It's about showing up, asking questions, being curious, making effort even when you're tired. Call your parents, not next week, today. They're getting older and you don't have unlimited time. Tell people you love them. Out loud, not just on special occasions, just because. Be present in the ordinary moments, because those are the ones you'll remember. The Tuesday night dinners, the weekend morning pancakes, the car rides, the walks, those are what matter, and most importantly, remember and return. You'll forget this. You'll drift back into busyness and distraction. It's human. But when you notice it, return to presence, return to attention, return to love. Not perfectly, but persistently. Patricia died 3 years ago. We had 45 years of marriage. And you know what haunts me? Not the arguments we had, not the disagreements, not even the big mistakes. What haunts me is how much time we had together that I wasn't actually there for. How many years we lived as strangers. How late I woke up to what mattered. In her final year, when she knew she was dying, we talked more honestly than we had in decades. And she told me something I'll never forget. "Richard," she said, "I know you love me. I've always known that. But love isn't just a feeling, it's a practice. It's the small things, done consistently, that make a life together." She was right. She was always right. I look at my life now, at these final years, and I see it clearly. The success I chased meant nothing. The money I accumulated can't buy back time. The career I built is over, and nobody cares. But the moments I missed, those I'd give anything to have back. One more bedtime story with Michael, one more dance in the kitchen with Patricia, one more conversation with Sarah about her day, one more Tuesday afternoon when I chose to be there instead of choosing to work. Just one more. But I don't get one more. That's not how time works. You, though, you still have time. Your kids are still young, or maybe you don't have kids yet. Your parents are still here, or maybe they're not, but someone you love is. Your partner still asks you to do things together. You still have time, but only if you choose differently than I did. 85 years of research, thousands of elderly people interviewed, decades of palliative care observations, they all point to the same truth. At the end, the only thing that matters is love, real love. The kind you practice every day, the kind that shows up, the kind that pays attention, the kind that chooses presence over productivity. Don't waste 55 years learning what I learned. The science is clear, the wisdom is available, the choice is yours. I'm 81 years old. I wasted most of my life chasing things that didn't matter. Don't make my mistake.